a gentleman calling later? So make yourself scarce.
Together, we're holding on to the dream. That dream is luxury, a gas-guzzling luxury car created in the nation's...
You still owe me a drink?
I still watch anime occasionally. Honestly, last year I feel like there wasn't that much good stuff. Attack on Titan's really just carrying the whole thing right now. I've been really enjoying that. I still watch anime occasionally. Honestly, last year I feel like there wasn't that much good stuff. Attack.
Always 5K, clean out the rest. Hurry the fuck up. I can't go any. Move your ass. I wanna pee y'all, yeah, fuck the fuck off.
Download and try it now. Download and try it now. Download and try it now. Download and try it now.
Yo, how do we?
Lux is a lonely, miserable orphan prince who destroyed his country because of corruption. He planned to rebuild it, but got checkmated before he could, and this led to the formation of a new country without him. And even though he's a hero, he is forced to pretend to be a weakling in an all-girls school. One day, while Luke chased after a cat on the rooftop buildings, he fell into a building and landed on a girl in the women's bath. He felt embarrassed, but thought he could handle the situation by complimenting how physically blessed she was as a girl. She got disgusted and screamed, calling him a disgusting perv, and threw his stupid ass in jail. A mysterious girl named Cruelcipher approached him. He tried explaining what had happened, but the girl wasn't listening to his bullshit. She then saw his long black sword device and became fascinated. Another girl entered the prison and pointed out to Luke that the headmaster would want to see him now. At the headmaster's office, she recognized him as Lux, the prince of the former empire of Acadia, to the shock of the female students, who were surprised the ugly pervert was a prince. The headmaster mentioned that since they were the ones who called him there for a job, she would overlook the incident, and even though the school was filled with girls, she would like him to work there, to the shock of the female students. Lux insisted on not joining their useless academy, but she reminded him that boys like him are valuable and the sword he welds isn't for decoration. At that instant, the girl whose plot was violated stormed in and loudly announced to the headmaster that she wouldn't approve of the idiot coming to work in the school. While going close to him, she was warned by the other female students not to venture too close due to the fact that he had groping melons disorder, a rare type of plot disease. The headmaster finally decided to leave Luke's punishment to Lisha. Upon that realization, she challenged him to a duel, with the condition that if he won, then he could enroll in the academy and work there, but if he lost, he would go to jail as a criminal. The headmaster reminded her that Luke's actually won the capital tournament, has yet to be defeated, and is known as the weakest undefeated. However, the girl instructed the other female student to announce that the princess of the new empire would get rid of the prince of the old. Then she introduced herself as Lishart. Lux realized she was the princess of the empire of Adismata, the empire that demolished his empire 5 years ago. On the day of the duel, Luke stepped out to the Colosseum. The battleground was covered with a force that acted as a barrier. Lishart engaged him and told him that she would reveal the reason for the challenge if he eventually won, which she doubted. Luke drew his sword device and summoned his wyvern. Lishart laughed at the sight of his wyvern as she summoned her wyvern, which was a divine drag ride, one that only strong people can handle power, to the amazement of Luke's. Just then, the battle commenced. Lisha Drag Ride unleashed her mighty blaster cannons at him and started to fire at him while he dodged them. She asked him if he played rough because she liked it rough, and then sent multiple tiny dynamites at him, which he evaded. Undetermined, she fired directly at him and blasted him, damaging his sword. Luce apologized for being a cultured idiot, and she got angrier and summoned her mighty blaster cannon. She also reminded him to get rid of his broken wyvern and use his other sword device, but he refused. So she immediately sent her metal tiny dynamites flying at him, which he evaded before charging a heavy, powerful blast, but he dodged all. At that moment, the princess, now frustrated, grew weary at the fact that she couldn't beat him and imagined the fight being a draw. She wondered if that was the reason they called him the weakest undefeated. She drew her sword again and told him to save his last words for the devil. Then she activated a divine skill and summoned a heavenly voice, which sent Luke's crashing to the ground with a massive earthquake that destroyed the entire arena. She then tried to land a final attack with her tiny dynamites, but she suddenly lost control of her drag ride. At that moment, they heard the sound of a flute, which caused the barrier to disappear, and they encountered a fearful abyss with red, menacing, glowing eyes. An announcement was made telling the triad to evacuate all the students immediately and create a barrier encapsulating the abyss. Still, the abyss sent red flying darts at the barrier, shattering it completely. However, Luce began to attack the abyss, and while he did this, he asked Lishart to go to the ground level and target the abyss, while he lured the enemy to the target since he could not defeat the abyss alone. He instructed her to open fire as soon as he gave the signal. Luce fired at the abyss, which the monster evaded unfazed. The abyss went after the princess, but as Luke tried to prevent the enemy from going after the princess, he lost the arm of his drag ride. However, this opened the door for Lishart to unleash a powerful fire blaster that completely defeated the monster as Luke came crashing to the ground wounded. Later that night, while Lishart had her back, she couldn't help but remember how Luke saved her, being the first time a guy tried protecting her. At the same time, Luke suddenly woke up from a terrifying nightmare and saw Lishart with a bowl of water, surprising him as he asked her if she had come to take care of him. She responded that it was because he saved her. However, she mentioned that the reason she challenged him to a duel was because she couldn't let him get away with seeing her plot in 360p. The perverted idiot apologized and told her he actually saw it in 4K, and she's got a nice plot shocking her. But she said what she was talking about was the crest of the former empire engraved above her floodgate. She warned him, however, not to tell anyone about it, to which he swore on his sword device he wouldn't. After that, she informed him that he would be attending the academy as a student, and they would be classmates, to his amazement. The next day, Lux resumed at the academy. He introduced himself to the class as they wondered why he looked like a completely different specimen. He walked across the class to find his seat, and he came across this girl with mighty cannons the size of his head and immediately knew the cannons seemed familiar. He realized she was his childhood friend, Filthy, so he decided to sit beside her and ditch the other females with flat chests, making Lishart red with envy. During the school's break time, all the girls fought, asking for hand service, but he told them it was one after the other. Lisha approached him and requested an exclusive service. She wanted him to be her assistant and caretaker, shocking everyone who wondered why she would like a guy to do that. However, with no more dignity left, she thought to herself that it was no big deal since he had seen her plot before anyway. Filthy stood up with her humongous cannons and warned her to leave Lux alone. Just then, they posed for a plot battle. Lisha wouldn't budge and tried to bribe Filthy with a donut, knowing she was a useless glutton, but she still didn't stop telling her to back off. Cool Cypher suddenly appeared just in the nick of time to save Lux from the two desperate nutcases. While they were outside, he thanked her and asked why she had helped him. She inquired about the Black Hero, the unknown lone drag knight who drove the former empire to defeat, whose identity has been a mystery to all, leaving Lux in shock. She instructed him to look for the Black Hero. The next day, he went to the repair shop to request his repaired Wyvern, which was damaged during the fight earlier on, and shockingly discovered that Lisha was in charge of the repairs. She showed him his already repaired Wyvern, which shocked him even more, and she informed him he would be joining the school's night squadron, a special unit consisting of only the best cadets, and handed him a sword. He hesitated at first, but later agreed to do his best. Later that day, Lux and Lisha walked around the city, and they headed to the top of a tower to have a good view of the city. Lux pointed out how much of a worthy queen she is by being able to repair drag rides. Still, she responded that she is not worthy of being called a queen because the former empire held her hostage for her father's sake, who participated in the coup. They tortured her while she was abandoned by her father and also branded a crest just above her floodgate. The next morning, the bell rang and the Night Squadron cadets were dispatched to suppress a large-size Abyss attack. However, Lux was worried because 2 Abyss attacks had occurred within a short period. At the sight of the Abyss attack, the cadets surrounded a giant slimy substance with Lisha ready to attack. An ugly dude suddenly blew a flute that caused the giant slimy substance to emanate bright glowing light inside it, which caused it to explode. The explosion of the giant slime caused several ferocious abysses to emerge, and then the ugly dude introduced himself to Lisha as Velvet, the Akkadian Empire Night Squadron chief. He blew the flute again, and the abyss began to attack. Lisha fought back, and they blasted each other. Problem on the battlefield. Lux grew eager to go save Lisha as Ari warned him that he couldn't fight with his outdated Wyvern and would need to use his other black sword, but he assured her he would be fine. Meanwhile, at the battlefield, Lisha summoned the Heavenly Voice skill, causing a massive earthquake. She then beckoned on the remaining cadets to know if they were okay, but they...
Jade, spokesperson for the IP department, responded.
The big deal, cowboy. Of course, it'll be dangerous. How big? IP's big enough.
You have a new bounty. Please process it as soon as possible.
Dangerous? Well, Butch. Dangerous for who? Bring it on, baby.
They informed her they needed to retreat. She told them she would need to annihilate Velvet, who was playing the flute because the flute manipulates the Abyss. Soon the Abyss fired their missiles dart at her, and while she dodged them, Velvet smacked her to the ground and called her an annoying bitch. He revealed the crest on her belly and laughed like an ugly clown, after which he admitted he was actually the one who engraved the crest. Upon hearing these words, it angered her as she tried to unsheath her sword, but he flung it off her hand and it cut his face, upsetting him. Then he resolved to end her. As he stroked his sword, it was held by Lux as he began revealing to Lisha how he was a useless failure of a prince, but has now decided to help her become recognized as the new Empire's queen. Utilizing his distraction, Velvet cut off his wyvern's arm and asked who his face was, However, Lux activated his Black Sword device for the first time and transformed into the Black Hero, shocking Velvet, who wondered how the loser came across such a wyvern. He smacked Velvet around like a useless ball, and then he began to wreak massive damage to the Abyss. At that point, it dawned on Velvet, who recognized him as Lux, the 7th Crown Prince of Acadia, and wondered why in hell he was fighting against him, as they were supposed to fight for the same purpose. Before he could conclude his thought, Lux summoned Reload on fire, dealing the final blow that impaled him. A few days later at the academy, the students surprised Lux by throwing a party for him to celebrate his victory and thanked him for helping out the cadet. During the party, the headmaster informed him that they decided to hold a competition for him. She showed everyone a red envelope and announced that whoever got the envelope from Lux within an hour would have an exclusive right to use him the way she wanted for 1 week. If the form is still in his possession at the end of the game, then he doesn't have to follow anyone's order. The competition began with a multitude of girls dashing right at him as Lux screamed into hiding in a storehouse while they searched for him, but he soon discovered Lisha was there. She asked him about the Black Hero to distract him. While he answered her, she suddenly restrained him with her drag ride and asked for the envelope. He promised to give it to her if she let him go. Her saltwater brain agreed, and just as the drag ride arm dropped him, he quickly ditched her ugly ass. While hiding in the bush, he bumped into Filthy, who told him someone offered her cake to find him and restrain him. She held his hands firmly, pressing her massive cannons against his back, and promised to give him her cakes if he gave her the envelope. Just then, the envelope fell to the ground, and in an attempt to pick it up, Lux was free. He swiftly got a hold of the envelope before her, as he would not simp over her melons like a hormonal teenager, and then ditched her. With 10 minutes left before the competition ended, he entered a room and quickly hid behind a box. At that instant, some girls came in and started removing their plot armor. Our boy finally realized that he was a hopeless, nasty pair who really needed help for always finding himself in Saw's positions. Cruel Cypher came close with half-exposed plots and saw him hiding behind the boxes. At the moment, he thought of looking at her plots, but he felt it was a complete waste of time, as she was totally flat and had no plot to even hold the story, until he was worried she might spill. To his surprise, she kept it a secret. A few minutes later, after the other girls had left, she told him he didn't have to hide anymore as the time for the competition had passed. She asked if the envelope was intact, and the Moran gave it to her, but he soon realized that she had deceived him by manipulating the time and telling him the time was over just to get the envelope from him. She revealed that she had him for a week to do her every bidding, and starting now, she would want him to be her boyfriend for a week. The following morning, while they had breakfast, Cruel Cypher pointed out to Lux his duties as her boyfriend for the week. She spoke about the reason she came to the New Empire, and that it was because her family wanted her to find a noble suitor to get married to for political reasons, as do all royalties, and a butler from her family would be coming in a few days to check the status of her engagement and announce it, so she wanted him to pretend as her plot partner. However, Lux told her he wouldn't want to associate with an ugly bitch. Still, she threatened him that if he didn't follow through, then everyone would know of his earlier peeping incident with the girls. The next day, Cruel Cypher took him to a clothing store to get some expensive wear, as he'd always been known to dress like a homeless brokey with zero fashion sense. That evening, while they searched for a restaurant to eat, they were attacked by some morons who fired at them as Lux saved her. Cruel Cypher instructed Lux to handle the two morons in front of them, giving her an opportunity to summon her drag ride. Lux sliced one like cabbage and pushed the other to the ground as Cruel Cypher summoned her Fafnir Wyvern. At that moment, the drag knights levitating on top of the building fired at Lux, but was shielded by Cruel Cypher Wyvern. The drag knights decided to attack her instead, but she activated Wise Blood and predicted their future moves, defeating them in one shot each. Lisha and Filthy appeared, and Lux wondered what their ugly faces were doing there. One of the two attackers from earlier quickly took to his heels and tried to escape, but was strangled to slumber like a useless fly by Alterize, who suddenly appeared. Cruel Cypher revealed she was the family butler she told him about. Later that night, while they had dinner, she mentioned to Alterize that Lux was her classmate and boyfriend. Just then, a random dude named Barzarite of the Four Great Nobles suddenly appeared and called Cruel Cypher his future wife. Alterize confirmed it and told her the marriage plans had been concluded. However, Cruel Cypher informed his worthless ass that she was already dating the guy. So Barzarite challenged Lux to a drag night duel to decide the ultimate alpha male, but Cruel Cypher suggested they paired up instead. She and Lux team up against him and Alterize, which was settled and the duel fixed for 3 days. Before long, Barzarite held a conversation with a mysterious man in his chambers, who informed him that the key needed to access the depths of the ruins was already in his hands, referring to Cruel Cypher, as Barzarite laughed like a deranged clown. In a castle far away, the Four Great Nobles were summoned for an urgent meeting regarding Ragnarok, a powerful abyss awakened with powers concealed in the ruins. They all suggested they have to prepare for that occurrence as the new empire isn't yet strong enough to face a Ragnarok. One of the four nobles suggested they keep investigating the ruins in order to suppress Ragnarok and would like his son Barzorai to lead the investigation of the ruins. At the same time, at the academy, the headmaster gathered the Knight Squadron cadets and informed them of the need to investigate the ruins. She revealed the acquired horn-shaped flute and pointed out that this might be the key to entering the deepest parts of the ruins as she handed it over to Lux to be in charge. Lux cited Crucifer and wondered why she was attending the meeting even though transfer students were prohibited. He went after her, but she informed him she would be joining the investigation team. The next day, just as the cadets prepared to set out for their investigation of the ruins, the instructor informed them that Barzorai would be participating, shocking everyone. As the arrogant face stepped in and introduced himself, Lisha demanded to know why the dickhead was joining them in investigating the ruins. Barzorai told her she should have trained her ugly face instead of her combat skills. He assured her he was there to protect his future wife, Crucifer, and he was also the head of the investigation unit. Just as they got to the ruins, Crucifer immediately moved towards it, leaving the others behind. Suddenly, a powerful, monstrous ripped abyss called Diabolos appeared. It immediately lunged towards one of the cadets, but Lux quickly intercepted and collided with it. The collision almost crushed his Wyvern Drag Knight, but Lisha fired her laser cannon at the abyss to save him. They fired their weapons at it, but the abyss shrugged off all the attacks at ultra speed. However, Barzorai told
Careful, Steph. You ruined Mr. Walton's lovely cake. You could hardly afford to replace it. Shut up.
Just throw away the cake. The wedding is canceled.
told them their effort were as useless as Lux's face and intervened with a powerful laser blast. Crucifer soon appeared and immediately charged towards the Abyss as she summoned Wise Blood, but the Abyss evaded it, leaving her in shock. Shortly, the blasts of their weapons collided as the Abyss's fiery blast overpowered her blast and nearly burnt her to a crisp with flames powerful enough to roast even the devil, but she was saved just in time by Lux. The Abyss continued to dodge all the myriads of attack they unleashed at it with ultra speed. Barzorai suddenly summoned an axe and made a direct hit, causing Diabolos to self-destruct, while emitting a very bright light. The cadets managed to protect themselves from the blinding light by summoning a barrier. At that moment, Crucifer's Fafnir suddenly lost control as the ruins glowed. Upon seeing this, Lux immediately proceeded to protect her, but they both got sucked into the ruins. He suddenly woke up in a strange place and wondered where he was. Crucifer replied that they were pulled into the ruins after the explosion. She thanked him for saving her and then suggested they head to the altar at the center to regroup with the rest of the team. While walking, she fell from exhaustion, so Lux offered to support her as they headed to the altar. On getting inside, Crucifer walked up to the center while Lux brought out the flute with the intention of blowing it as he thought it was the key. As Crucifer approached the entrance, the center suddenly got activated and emitted a bright neon light, shocking Lux. Then he discovered that the flute wasn't the key after all, and Crucifer wasn't human, but a survivor of the ruins and was the key. Suddenly, a violent earthquake occurred. Lux sprinted to rescue Crucifer, but they found themselves trapped further inside the ruins with no place of escape. Crucifer narrated to Lux how her father found her in the ruins and adopted her. Just as they talked and bonded, Lisha drilled a hole into the ruins bigger than Crucifer's hole with her drag ride. Later that evening, Crucifer gave Irie the red envelope as she didn't want Lux to be involved with the mess going on in her life. She faced Barzorai and Altarizal alone as Barzorai inquired about her boyfriend and partner, but she insisted she had to send him back to fight alone. Just then, Barzorai summoned his drag ride as Altarizal readied herself and planned on summoning hers. Barzorai instructed her to sit it out as he drained her of all her cosmic energy, knocking her unconscious. The battle kicked off with an explosive exchange of shots. Barzorai soon realized that Crucifer's Fafnir could predict his moves, and cunningly, he started draining her powers without her noticing. Crucifer became frustrated as her attacks mysteriously missed even with her powerful Wise Blood spell. Barzorai made a direct hit and knocked her down with a brutal axe strike. At that moment, Lux hurled his sword at Barzorai, who dodged it, narrowly escaping his ugly face as a pancake. Barzorai recognized the Black Hero drag ride and called him his simp who ran away for years only to reveal his true identity for the sake of a worthless girl. Lux responded and told him she was important to him and threatened to slice his ugly head. Lux summoned Reload on fire, charging at full speed. Yet Barzorai's barriers held strong, revealing that he had stolen Crucifer's Wise Blood, enabling him to read Lux's every move. As Barzaride fired his laser gun, Lux unleashed his divine shield and was grabbed in the arm by Pulsifer, drained his power. Barzaride unleashed a barrage of attacks on Lux and landed his mighty axe on him, but it collided with Lux's blade as they charged at each other. Barzaride launched a series of blasts at Lux, which he shielded and charged at him with his blade but was blocked by Barzaride's shield. Lux's drag ride started blinking wildly as he began to lose control. At that moment, Pulsifer urged him to stop as she wept bitterly, but Lux was resolute to fight on for the sake of their worthless love. Just as Barzaride thought victory was within his grasp, Lux activated Recoil Burst, an incredibly powerful move that obliterated Barzaride. Several weeks later, Lux, disguised as a hideous drag queen, sneaked around the school at night, but he was met by the instructor, who warned him about a stalker lurking in the shadows. Lux, puzzled, wondered how no one had seen through his disguise. Earlier that day, he had encountered Sheris, who revealed the presence of a terrifying Ragnarok in the country. She also mentioned a girl named Celestia, the daughter of one of the 4 great nobles, who was powerful enough to battle a Ragnarok. She added that Celestia was the strongest in the academy and would soon return to the capital, but there was a rumor that she despised men. Upon this revelation, Sheris asked him to patrol the academy for her. Just then, with the help of other mean girls, they overpowered him and forced girls' plots on him. As Lux wondered about the mysterious Celestia being the strongest in the academy, he heard rustling in the bushes and a female voice. He stood up to investigate, only to find a miserable, deranged girl named Celestia talking to a cat. He wondered who allowed a mad person to roam this late at night. Suddenly, a stranger appeared behind him and placed a dagger in his gut. He nearly shit his pants as he thought it was the stalker the instructor had warned earlier. However, Celestia swiftly came to his defense, but the stranger dropped his smoke bomb and fled. As the
What the fuck's he doing, man?
Damn! Oh, shit! Blast on me then, bitches!
Copy that.